everyone, welcome back to my channel. Lovely to have you with me. Just before Christmas I posted a couple of videos showing some past tags that I had made oodles of years ago, and I've got a few more here that I thought you might be interested in seeing. I've probably got enough to do one more video which I'll do at some stage. If you don't want to hear me talk about how I've created these or when I created them, there are some photographs at the end of the video if you want to fast forward and have a look at those. So as I said, I've got 10 here, some grungy, some semi-grungy, and some quite delicate pretty ones, or certainly pretty-ish ones that I can show you. So let's get started. I'm just going to put these off to one side or up to the top here and just grab them as I go. This one, oh, I love this one. This is a Sizzix die cut. As you can see, it's little pieces that make up angel wings. I used a piece of printed vellum which I inked around the edges after I roughly tore it to make a scroll, wrapped around a little portion of wire there, and I made a little ceramic heart out of air drying clay and just painted it. I can't remember what I used to paint it, probably some of my watercolor crayons. To do the background, this was a technique that I saw Verl Morels do ages ago, and there's this one here, I was going to say there's another tag here with the same technique, and basically all she does is put watercolor paint onto a piece of acrylic, spray it, and then reverse it and put it face down onto some watercolor paper. And I just love the technique, and you can see that it's got some lovely little splotches there. Backed it with black cardstock and stitched around the edges just on my machine. Here at the bottom I've used some more of this vellum paper, inked around the edges, a couple of white brads, and I printed on the computer this Ex Libris down there and inked around the edges. And again, just my usual seam binding at the top here that I splodged through the same ink. Not sure what colour I used for this background ink, but I put a little bit under each of these indents on the wings just to give a bit of dimension, and I think you can probably just make out some glitter on those wings if I move them. Maybe not, sorry, the light's not good here today, so it's not really catching. But I went all the way around each one of these little die cut pieces with a glue pen, and then just touched it into some stardust glitter, which is very, very fine glitter. And as always, around that time I was making these little tags, which gives me an indication of when I made it. So this one was made on the 20th of March 2018. So that's the first one. Then this one, now this is one of my all-time favourite tags, although I do love this one. I absolutely adore this one. As I say, a technique shown by Verl Morels, and I haven't stitched this one, which is surprising. It would have looked better, I think, stitched. So I created the background. This is just white watercolour paper, slightly thick. I think it's probably about 180 GSM watercolor paper, and I used various colors of this would have been watercolor paint rather than distress ink, and as you can see I've done a green and a bit of blue there. And then I used a stencil with some texture paste to create these splodges, and then I went in with a little bit of mulberry paper over the top. And the reason I went in with the mulberry paper, which was a happy accident really to correct a fault, was that I didn't get a good impression underneath the mulberry paper using the texture paste there. So to cover it up, I just tore a piece of mulberry paper and glued it down. Then I had some coloured wire in amongst my stash, very, very fine gauge wire, and made a rough circle with, I think it's about 6 strands of the wire there. This is like a deep turquoise blue. And then I put, I think you might be able to just see behind, a dimensional foam dot behind this heart. Now this heart was just roughly hand drawn, cut out, and then I went in with my felt tip pens, light in the center, dark around the outside, and then I put some Ranger crackle paste on the top. I'm going to try turning on the light and see if that looks any better. Sorry, I should have done that before we started. And yep, that makes no difference whatsoever, but I'll hold it up to the camera a little bit closer. There you go. You might just be able to pick out those crackles on the heart. I'm hoping that the photographs will show that better for you. This was again some seam binding. I didn't colorize this or color the seam binding this time. I had some that was actually this color, which picks up more or less the colors I wanted there. This tag was made on the 22nd of January 2018, and again backed with some black cardstock, and then these little coat hangers on the back, which I explained in one of the previous videos. I bought a couple of packs of these and used them to hang up my tags in their storage box, but when I couldn't get any more, I started creating them out of paper clips, and they're on YouTube. If you Google coat hanger paper clip tutorial, I'm sure you'll come up with how to make those. They do look nicer bought and not so homemade and DIY when I was creating them, but as I say, I couldn't find these. I was struggling to find them, so resorted to the paper clips. Okay, so that's those two. This one, yep, backed with black cardstock, some remnant rubs on here. Can't remember how I painted or created the background, but I think it might have been another Vermeil technique. Again, at the bottom here, I've just used some vellum, and this is a label that I cut out after printing it on the computer. Created the backdrop here, or the background, inked around the edges, put on a little of this rough gauze, and then again resorting to the little foam pads. I'm hoping you can, there you go, you can probably pick them out. There's quite a few foam pads underneath this egg. Now this was a print that I took off the internet somewhere. I used some more of the ink to add colour to the edges and to colorize it, because it was just a black and white image that I took off the internet. So to colour it, I went in with some of the same coloured paint or ink, not sure which, and then heavily inked around the edges. And then again, holding it up there, you can probably pick out the crackles. So again, one of my all-time favorites. I love using Ranger Clear crackle paste, so that's what I've used on there. Is slightly curled at the edges, but I don't mind because that kind of gives it a bit of dimension. This is just ribbon out of my stash that I had in the right color mix, and this tag was created on the 29th of March 2018. So as I say, Ranger remnant rubs in various places on there as well. So that's those three. Oh, this one was a fun one to create. Again, black cardstock, red seam binding. It was originally white, but I coloured it with my Ranger felt tip pens. Created more of these hearts, similar to that one, but these I just used glossy accents. Created a background using distress inks, stamped over the top, as you can see, allowed some bleeding to happen around the edges. So I wet the edges, and then the same ink pads that I used to create my background, I just touched the edges onto the ink pad, and it kind of wicked it into the center a little bit to create this sort of effect. Just something I wanted to try. This was some linen cardstock, which again was white, and I used the same ink pads to create the color on it. I backed it with black cardstock, same as I did for this background piece, and then again, once again, dimensionalized it with some foam pads. Again, using slightly thicker wire than I used here, I created a circle, and then using the same glossy accents that I used on top of these, I also used it as a glue to hold these down and the wire onto this background. These labels I created on my computer, and again just chopped them out and backed them onto black cardstock, and this one was created on the 13th of March 2018. So that's my fourth tag. This one, fairly neutral colours, just had a play with some white cardstock, playing around with splotches. This is a Tim Holtz stamp that I've used all around the background, and I've laid it up with another piece that I cut smaller, as you can see. I've stamped over the top. Now I've got a thread there, not sure what that thread is from. I thought that might be a join, but it's just a thread there. Oh, I know what it's from. This is sorry, I'm remembering myself as we go along here. Yeah, okay, this darker piece here that I've got my thumbnails underneath, this was a tea bag, and this is the string from the tea bag. This is a piece of muslin that was cream coloured, that I coloured with some tea or coffee, not sure which, and then did a little stamp on it with some archival ink, and that would have been potting soil, I know that. Stitched it onto the tea bag. As I say, that's the string from the tea bag. At the top here, I've just made a couple of holes, put a couple of eyelets in. I've got a rusted safety pin, and then I tied some garden twine through the top there to create this fringe. And it is, the safety pin is glued down using the bulk that I created up there. As you can see, I've inked around the edges on here, and I've also done a couple of rows of messy stitching. I've only done it on this top piece. I haven't done it on this background piece. I've used one of the Ranger adornments on here with a brad to hold it in place, and then this was just some ribbon that I had in my stash. Now this is old Stampin' Up ribbon, I know that, but I used it because of the black edging and the brown. It tied in perfectly with what I wanted to do on here. And that one was created on the 17th of March 2018, so I was having a nice little play in March 2018, because there's a 13th, a 17th, I think that one was a 20th of March, and that's the 29th of March. So yeah, most of those, apart from this one, were completed around the same time. Moving on to this one and a few of the grungier ones here. I'm going to move those off to one side because you don't need to see those, you've seen them. Okay, so a few grungy ones coming up here. Not quite sure how I created the background on this one. Looks like a book page in the background, and then I've gone over the top with paint, I think, by the feel of it, because the texture's quite rough. I've also used this. Now these aren't remnant rubs. I think this is Ranger tissue paper that I've glued on top of there. Certainly got a texture to it. There is a hint of gold as well, so that will have been treasure gold, I believe. I've obviously gone round the edges with black acrylic paint, and then used the treasure gold round the edge as well to make it stand out a little. What else have I done on this one? I've created these on my computer just using the various fonts that you get on any laptop, and I've gone round the edge with some yellow. Doesn't look like treasure gold, might be some gold acrylic paint, probably that by the looks of it, and it's probably what I've used around some of these tissue pieces that I've glued onto my background. The background has been stamped as well. I'm not sure if I've mentioned that. These labels that I've created, I've just glued them on, and I've backed them on with black cardstock just to make them stand out from the background. This is a Ranger gear, and these are some little eyes that I bought for another project. I was doing some paper mache sculpting, and I bought some little eyes of various sizes, and I've got them on top of both of those cogs, just put on top of the background there. And oh yeah, a few remnant rubs down there. That's another cog, but then I've put one of these eyes on top. Now all of these eyes here will have had this white background, but this one I've left as is for some reason. But I'm glad I did, because it makes it pop a little bit better than some of these. And this one was made on the 6th of the 4th, 2018. And again, this is just some ribbon that I will have had in my stash that match the colour scheme that I've got going on there. So that, I think that's enough about that one. I wasn't quite sure how I created that one. This is one of those paperclip coat hangers that I've made, trying to replicate, where are we? These, as I've mentioned previously. So that's one of those tucked in the back there. This was one of Tim Holtz's monthly tags that you could follow along with the technique, and I think that one, as it says, 12 tags of 2016, this one was created in March, and he's obviously using the negative space in cardboard. So I have got my black cardstock on the back, then I've got a background that I created using distress inks. I've also used the honeycomb stencil and texture paste and coloured over the top of that. Put that behind this piece of cardboard, and as you normally see with cardboard, I've peeled away some of the top coat to show the ridges behind, and then I've splattered over the top, obviously using the same distress paints that I've created the background to the negative space with. I've also got some gold on here. Now that will have been gold leafing. There's an eyelet up the top there, big jumbo eyelet, and these are a die cut that Sizzix have, and I've obviously cut it out and inked the edges. I was just checking underneath because the edges look black, so I was just checking whether or not it was white cardstock that I'd coloured laid on top of black, but it isn't. It's white cardstock that I've obviously coloured, again in the same colours as the background, and I've gone round the edge with either a black felt tip pen or using the black soot ink. I think it's probably a black felt tip pen. And then these are some Stampin' Up! Brads. I recognise those. And then across the bottom, just one of the Ranger wood tags, a bit of muslin here that I've obviously coffee dyed and frayed. And then this is just a piece of ribbon, and I've secured this word band in place just by wrapping the ribbon around and underneath between these two layers there. So that's how I've made that one. This one, really grungy for me, but I have to say I like it. Black cardstock, same as always. White watercolour cardstock for the front, and I can see on here right from the off that this black flower here, the fern, and up here is the botanical tissue collage paper that Ranger has or used to have. Not sure if it's still available. This lettering down the side, I believe, will have been on that as well. And then I've done some inking through a stencil and done the bump technique. So you ink with one colour, or you colour through the stencil with one colour, and then you move your stencil slightly when that first colour is dry, and then you go over the top with another colour, and it gives you this slight bumping. So I've done that. I've got a bit of film strip in here behind this metal charm, and a big piece here that, as you can see, is held in place with a couple of brads. There's another brad down there and another brad down there. I've got one of these metal corner pieces. You fold them in half, and I've got a piece of acetate over the top with a little bird in it. I've obviously put some ink on that charm because they're usually bright silver coloured. I've stitched this paper label onto my background, and I've done some messy stitching on my sewing machine all the way round. And I've also gone over the top of the collage paper, tissue collage paper, I'm not sure if you can pick that up, with that rock candy textured crackle paste. I've created some rusting on this. Now these are usually, again, silver coloured like this, but I've obviously gone in with a lot of texture paste and black ink and brown ink to create this very rough, rusty looking figure 2, and it's just held in place itself with a couple of brads like up here and up here. And then here I've just got one of those little tags that you put through a punch machine, and I've created one of those and then layered on top again another one of these Ranger charm things with, again, some acetate. It's like an acetate bubble, so I've used one down there and another one up here, and it's slightly domed. I'm not sure you're going to be able to pick that up on the camera. Move it sideways, maybe. Yeah, there you go. You can just see that it's slightly domed. I've put an N behind that one, don't know why. Bird in that one, as I say. And then this is a large jump ring. These two have been glued together to give a bit of dimension, As I say, held in place with a very large jump ring. I've got a little charm, silver charm there, which I've obviously touched with the same ink that I've used down there. You've seen this ribbon before. This is some white ribbon that was in my stash, and I've obviously gone in with the same colours to try and blend it all in. And another one of these little labels, and this one was made on the 1st to the 5th 2018. Sorry, couldn't read that for a minute there. Okay, so down to our final two. This one, oh, very crackled background on this one. Again, black cardstock. Use some white cardstock on the front. As you can see, I've stitched round with a couple of rows of messy stitching. The same Tim Holtz tissue paper, a strip down in there. Another piece of this background, but without the ferns on it and the botanical look. Definitely got a lot of cracking, crazing going on all over this background. I'm wondering if I've gone over it with the rock candy crackle paste and then gone over it with something like picket fence and done it that way, because this is a lot whiter and creamier than this background. So I'm pretty sure that I would have done something like that. Again, Ranger cogs there. Down here, a little plaquette there, a couple of brads, so there's one there. There's one holding the cog in the centre there. Then I've used some of the Ranger pieces of carb that they produce with floral elements on. This was a piece of vellum that I stamped with a flower image, and I've gone over it with rock candy. I've put on it some of the little art beads in gold. Not sure if you can pick those up, but it gives it a lot of dimension. This I think I would have glued in place using glossy accents. There's a piece of film strip behind here, and this is just a little label that I have gone over the top with glossy accents. And what else can I tell you? Oh yeah, there's a piece of acetate up here. There's a little ticket up there. So this is the same ticket. I've just cut it in half. So I've used a piece down here, piece up there, covered it over with a piece of plastic, and it's between my layers here at the top, so it tucks in between the two. And I've just gone over the top with 3 staples to hold it in place. One of the Ranger hitch fasteners, which I've obviously gone over and given it a bit of colouring with alcohol ink. And this tag I made on the 24th of April, 24th of the 4th, 2018. So that's that one. And this one, bit of a quirky one, this one. Obviously, you'll recognise the black cardstock, the white cardstock with my background. Not sure how I created this background, but it looks a bit like Distress inks, and probably wet the tag and smooshed it through that to create this background. I've definitely gone round the outside edges heavily with one of the oranges. This is tissue paper. So is this, so is this. I will have just glued that onto my background using Ranger Multi-Matte Medium. Wouldn't have used the gloss because I don't like gloss. This is a remnant rub down here. Actually, this might be a remnant rub. Don't think these are, I'm pretty sure these are tissue paper. And then I put NLR. Now, I can't remember what that stood for, but I was reading up about something at the time, I remember that, and that's why I kind of went with this quirky background. This is supposed to be the representation of an eyeball, and I've just painted it to match the background. That alone probably would have taken me absolutely ages to do, because I am not a sketcher by any means, but I do like having a go and having a dabble, same as when I have a go at water painting. So yeah, that would have probably taken me hours to do, but never mind, you have fun doing these things and it's worth giving it a try. And again, that's dimensionalized. If I just turn that sideways, there you go, famous little foam dots holding it in place. This one was created on the 6th of April 2018, and at the top I've got some gross grain ribbon, which I would have had in my stash, not dyed that or colorized it at all, it would have been that color. And then this is just some chiffon-y style ribbon, again something left over from a Christmas wrapping or a birthday wrapping that I've stashed away and just got enough to use, which would have picked out the lighter tones here, and this obviously to pick out these tones. So there we go, everybody. I hope you enjoyed seeing me go through these. I hope I wasn't boring you too much trying to drag out of the depths of my memory how I created these. As you've heard me say, these were created in 2018, so many moons ago. So trying to drag out how I actually created these hasn't been that easy, but that's the best I can do. Hope you enjoyed seeing them. Close-up photos at the end. I do have enough for one more video, I think, of these past ones, and I'll post that in a week or two so that you can have a look as an extra bonus video along with my weekly Margaret Miller collage assignments that I post on a Monday. As always, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Now go grab a cuppa and have a look at the close-ups. Until the next video, bye-bye now.